Thank you for joining me today to take a look at how Optim Query Workload Tuner can help DBAs tune query workloads to optimize performance and reduce costs. Clearly, application performance is tightly tied to customer satisfaction, revenue generation, operational productivity, and infrastructure costs. And the ability to optimize queries in your production applications is a key contributor to application performance. Unfortunately, we're hearing that performance and scalability of application SQL is getting less and less attention pre-production. Aggressive project delivery schedules and the increasing use of application frameworks to generate this SQL and the disconnection between development organizations and DBA organizations are all contributing factors. Once in production, application performance is not set for life. Applications slow down over time because of increased workload or changes in the database environment. Often, applications outgrow the original design parameters. So query tuning is a critical skill for organizations to maintain and enhance. Let me take a minute to now walk through the agenda and the topics that I want to cover today. I'm going to kick off today by talking about some of the performance tuning challenges that have faced our customers. Next, I'm going to go do some level setting with a brief overview of the IBM DB2 Analytics Accelerator. Then I want to share what customers are saying firsthand. From there, I'm going to go more specifically and talk about Optim Query Workload Tuner and the new Workload Analytics Accelerator Advisor, and how you can evaluate large number of queries quickly to determine the workloads eligible for acceleration. Finally, I'll wrap up with a look at additional query workload benefits and some detail on where you can find more information on the solution. Let's look at the challenges in tuning queries across the organization. Writing good code and writing optimized SQL requires different skill sets. Application developers, they rely on frameworks to write the SQL for them. If they focus on capability and delivery, that can mean that performance is a second order of consideration if there's time. Often the QA environment is inadequate to shake out the scalability issues either for the workload perspective or from the data perspective. Experienced DBAs have a skill set to optimize SQL, but given their hectic schedules and numerous responsibilities and the disconnect we often see between application and database groups, they often don't get a chance to focus on SQL optimization until the problems arise, so they don't get to be proactive and reactive. In addition, now we have the line of business managers that need data immediately, and they are now losing business or sales as a result of this inaccurate data. Once in production, query tuning is just very challenging. Performance problems can appear out of the blue. Applications are running fine one day and the next they've changed. Is it the workload? Is it data characteristics? When has the data changed? Is it data volume, data distribution? Now DBAs are responsible for things like index elimination strategies. So to begin, you have to get the information from a number of places, and often including the catalog, performance monitors, explain data. DBAs need a deep understanding of the DBA concepts to assure good database design and query design. They need to think like an optimizer, detecting what predicates are most selective, whether the optimizer can tell whether it's being most selective, and the better options to choose, and regarding filtering data, and what workload is eligible for acceleration. Even with the best optimization engine in the world, query tuning can still be very complex and very time-consuming. Tuning a single statement is hard enough, but tuning a group of statements into a workload in order of magnitude is even more complex. Workloads typically contain thousands upon thousands of SQL statements, and as analyzing each statement is lengthy and manual. So after the review of the statement, a DBA is required to consolidate the findings and find something meaningful across the solution, across the workload. So the preponderance of a variety of data available to today's enterprises open up a tremendous opportunity across many industries. Organizations increasingly have access to a treasure trove of structured and unstructured data that can lead to key insights and aspects of the business to help them remain competitive. Moreover, the capability to derive this insight necessarily rapidly makes it critical for business decisions to be made where analytics come into play. An essential component of the analytics processing is query workload execution. Getting that information increasingly faster than possible before and enhancing the performance of query execution to meet immediate 24/7 demands is creating new challenges. So we've introduced the DB2 Analytics Accelerator in conjunction with the IBM zEnterprise, brought a revolutionary change, resulting in a hybrid computing platform on the zEnterprise. This hybrid environment supports both transactional processing and analytic workloads concurrently, effectively and cost-efficiently, and most importantly, while delivering business industry leading performance in mixed workloads. The DB2 Analytics Accelerator, together with DB2 ZOS, form a self-managing hybrid workload optimized database management system that runs transaction OLTP, batch, and analytic queries in the most efficient way so that the query is executed in its optimal environment for greatest performance and cost efficiency. So if you look at the picture I have above, it shows an overview of the query acceleration. When an application submits an SQL query, DB2 analyzes it. If a query is accelerated, it is enabled, and the query qualifies for acceleration. DB2 will then convert the query into Netezza syntax and route it to an analytics accelerator through the DRDA communication channel. The analytics accelerator runs the query and sends the result set back to DB2. DB2 then sends the query out to the application, and this integration is transparent to the user, and there is no application changes that are required to accelerate a query. This brings your analytics closer to your transactional data source. It can help you reduce your data latency, reduce your complexity, and reduce the cost. It also helps you deliver your business-critical analytics with zEnterprise quality as a service to provide timely and accurate secure data. This hybrid approach provides a flexible platform to enable you to start with your top analytics requirements to quickly realize business value and then position your analytics strategy to grow and evolve as your business and market demands do, without even changing your IT environment, as I mentioned before. As you can tell, the DB2 Analytics Accelerator is a true game changer that is helping our customers deliver more real-time business-critical analytics. But the true testimonial for me is from our customers around the world. They rave about the unprecedented benefits that can be gained from the lightning-fast performance and the data-intensive complexity queries, and they continue to look for new ways to utilize the accelerator to solve their emerging business requirements. These are just a few samples of what the customers are saying about the DB2 Analytics Accelerator. It's a magic box. Can you imagine? It's unbelievable that there are still DB2 ZOS shops that are without the Analytics Accelerator. These are just a few of these testimonials, and you'll hear more and more as the years progress. DB211, alongside with the DB2 Analytics Accelerator, can help customers reach beyond traditional boundaries of analytics to further lower business costs and reduce risks while providing a competitive edge. These new enhancements provide query performance improvements, large results that's come back faster from the DB2 Analytics Accelerator, and now both dynamic and static SQL support. Extending the environment allows analytics in mixed workloads and traditional. For example, operational analytics is reaching out to applications such as SAP, which uses a mix of OLTP and other complex queries. The Analytics Accelerator is to SQL what the zip engine is to CPU. Now, how is the IBM DB2 tools expanding the accelerator value? So all of our customers have experienced the immediate benefits of the Analytics Accelerator, but now you want to know more. They want to know what they can further do to maximize its value in such areas as utilization and optimization. For example, many customers have already added additional accelerator capacity, but now there's different areas in which the tools can even help provide more value. First, in assessment. How can I see or demonstrate additional benefits from the accelerator? Or in optimization. How can I optimize the workload fully to take advantage of the accelerator? And administration, for example, how can I identify tables that are mirrored into the accelerator? These are just some of the things that our IBM tools will address. As some of you already own the tools and are seeing and experiencing benefits right away in your DB2 environment, what you may not be aware of is that IBM is making additional investments in the tools that you already own to capitalize on your investment. So for example, you have the DB2 Object Comparison tool for ZOS. It's an expansion of your DB2 admin tool. It provides you a comprehensive management capabilities that includes adding and removing accelerators and the option to reload that data through the change management. We have our Query Monitor tool, which provides capabilities on monitoring, identifying, and segregating accelerated and non-accelerated queries. This can be used to measure and compare performance of the same metrics with and without acceleration and create that baseline you've been looking for. Beyond monitoring and analysis capabilities, we have Omegamon XE, which can be used to generate extensive performance reports. This offers insight into the behavior of the accelerated queries and helps validate the return on your investment that you were looking for. In addition, the brand new and recent, we have our IBM Analytics Loader. This provides flexible capabilities and options to quickly load and refresh DB2 and non-DB2 data, either directly into the Analytics Accelerator or in DB2 ZOS or in parallel. Either way, the load and the refresh takes place in a minimal application impact while reducing processor consumption and elapsed time. And finally, Query Workload Tuner. In conjunction with the Analytics Accelerator in DB2, it can help you optimize and accelerate queries to meet the ever-increasing velocity of your business insight needs. Now, what's the value of tuning accelerated queries? We already know that you can tune one query at a time, but the value is doing it in bulk. So here are some of the questions that the customers firsthand have been asking about the accelerator. And they want to know what the great benefits are that they have already received from the accelerator, but they want to know what more they can do to maximize that investment. One of the biggest questions that arise from the customer is, do I have the best set of objects available for consideration into the accelerator? The DB2 Optimizer determines which queries can be candidates for the accelerator and executes at record speed. But how do I know what can best fit that workload? Another question I've seen is, I may have written applications. Where can I expect all the queries to be routed to the accelerator? They want to know which ones and which ones are not. Can the queries be rewritten to obtain better results and move faster? Now we've seen that we can address all those issues that you've seen and the questions that arise in Optim Query Workload Tuner. Now we are packaging this expertise advice of professional tuners in an easy consumable offering called Query Workload Tuner. It allows you to easily get expert tuning advice out of the box. So let's go through the process, if I was an actual tuner, how I would go through and analyze these queries and show you what the benefits of Query Workload Tuner are in this aspect. So first, I would identify my query candidates. You can choose them from a variety of source types we have available. You can choose them from the DB2 catalog, which allows you to see the packager plan and focus on a packager plan. The dynamic statement cache, which allows you to take into consideration how many times a query has been executed and how many indexes are there, and putting like indexes together to consolidate and give you one bit of advice. But let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, a tuner did not actually create these queries. They have no idea where these queries came from or the intention of what someone was actually doing when they wrote these queries. And looking at this analysis could take hours and upon hours of time. So now we facilitate your analysis by allowing you to format that query so you can easily see the tables, sections, joins, and predicates. Then we provide you with query annotation, which will show you the statistical information of the query to see whether you're missing statistics or you have outdated statistics, etc. And then we give you the access plan visualization, which shows you the flow of processing of your query so you can see what the person was actually intending on doing with your query when they wrote it. Then the Query Workload Tuner will give you expert tuning advice. You can select the advisors and evaluate. So we give you advice on improving your query design based on, for example, a recommendation on a query predicate that is not enabled for selection in another index. We give you advice on statistics quality. So by identifying statistics that you need to gather that could be outdated, for example, or that are conflicting. We give you advice on improving your overall database design. We'll tell you what indexes can be dropped, what indexes that are outdated, for example, that are no longer needed. You can see what indexes need to be added. Or to take advantage of the new release of DB2, you can actually see where you need to add columns, for example, to your existing indexes to even further improve your database design. And most importantly, last but not least, we have now given you ways to improve your overall accelerated queries. And I'll go further into that in the later slide. So once you've gone in through this tuning, it's basic tuning out of the box, and it makes it simplified for you to go through the process and learn how to tune your queries and get the most bang for your buck. So now using Query Workload Tuner, you can plan and implement query acceleration. If you wanted to evaluate a large number of queries, analyzing and explain information for each query would require a lot of time and effort. The new Query Workload Tuner Analytics Accelerator Advisor can evaluate thousands upon thousands of queries quickly. You can do 15,000 statements, 20,000 statements. If you were to do this on your own, it would take you hours upon hours, and you would continue to do this until you retire, for example. But now Query Workload Tuner can be used to capture the workload from a variety of sources, run the Accelerator Advisor for analysis, and then receive those recommendations. The Accelerator Advisor provides a list of tables that can be added and deleted to the Accelerator and shows those statements that are eligible to be offloaded with cost savings from that query, and it allows you to do what we call what-if analysis. That allows you to say, what if I added these to the Accelerator? What will be my performance benefits? That way you can create these HTML reports and give them to your management or other DBAs to show your results so they can make sure that your concise decisions are good. Now, the benefits are far beyond what I can tell you right now, but they shorten the process of selecting the tables to be accelerated. They visualize the access paths that need to be accelerated. They increase your productivity, as I mentioned before, in a unified interface. And most importantly, they increase your overall system capacity so you can do things on your own. Now, one thing I would also like to mention is we made sure that this product was used during our beta program. The beta program for DB2 Our customers were using this to actually see the benefit right away. And some of our customers were actually quoted to say, while there is always a benefit to analyzing a single statement and making incremental performance improvements, the ability to analyze entire workloads and make performance improvements allows a DBA to implement transformal change. This is beyond what you could imagine of what you can do, and it simplifies the process of you doing this without spending hours upon hours or days upon days of finding these changes, and see the investment is secure. As you can see, it's a basic streamlined approach. Let's go through this process. It's very simple to use. We've created what we call our workflow assistant. As you can see on the far left-hand side, there's tabs that'll go through the flow. So first is a tab of the status of the database I'm on. The second tab, that is the capture tab, which I'm on the far left-hand side. You can define or select your workload. If you forget what source types are available to you, they're all listed there. You can define or select your query workload that you want to work with. You have many options available to you, so you can choose the query monitor, for example, your statement cache, your catalog plan or package. Then you would execute your advisor. You could either execute your advisors iteratively or all at once. Now, as a rule of thumb, I choose to run my advisors iteratively. Why? Let me give you something to remember. The optimizer is only as smart as the data it's given. If you have poor statistics, you're not going to be choosing the right queries to be accelerated. So first, clean up your statistics, run your statistics collection advisor, and then run your analytics accelerator advisor to make sure you have the proper statistics in place. After you've executed your advisors, you would then drill down into your advice. In this example below, we prioritize the advice in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 1 being of the utmost priority. So if I have not run my statistics advisor yet, statistics will always be of the utmost priority for that same exact logic that I mentioned before. The optimizer is only as smart as the data it's given, so I need to make sure my statistics are cleaned up. After I drill down into the advice, I would then validate my improvement. You can validate your improvement by different ways. As I mentioned before, I can take a baseline for my query monitor and validate the results before and after. I can collect a workload and first run it through. And as you can see in this example, I've collected my workload with typical statistics on a normal day. Let's say table all, index all. And when I collected that workload, I ran it through, and the CPU time was 97.32 seconds. When I ran it through the workload advisor for statistics, it gave me advice on what statistics I needed to capture, and it also gives you that whole run set control statements. So you don't need to worry about understanding the rocket science behind collecting your statistics. It'll give you all the run set control statements. I ran those run set control statements, and workload tuned with stats advisor, the CPU time dropped to 53.19 seconds. And you could do the same thing with your Analytics Accelerator Advisor. I can run the Workload Analytics Accelerator Advisor after I've added those eligible statements and compare that before and after in the CPU cost to make sure that the time has changed. And that's how you can validate your improvement. Now, of course, every shop is different. You can find a variety of ways, but the ease of use of this tool allows you to pick those ways that you feel more comfortable with and create HTML reports that you can share with your teammates to show that these improvements have been made. So now let's go through the flow, and we're going to go deep into how you can do this and how easy it is to go through the flow of processing of this. So we make it easy for you to capture the workloads for tuning. So you can launch the Query Workload Tuner in context from either your monitoring solutions, for example, like Query Monitor or OmegaMon XE, or you can go from a variety of source types, like your plan table, your statement table, your catalog plan or package, the statement cache. You can pull from a file or an exported workload, for example, and then go through that process. So, for example, if I was using DB2 Query Monitor, I could push the monitored statements into Query Workload Tuner for a new workload, and then Query Workload Tuner can also do a pull from those statements from Query Monitor. Now, something I've actually seen from DBAs is they've run the TPCD workload while monitoring it in QM to get baseline performance metrics. Then they run the workload in the Analytics Accelerator Advisor for that particular workload, follow the advice that's given, and then offload those statements into the accelerator, and then run the workload monitor again to see if QM had made the difference, see what the difference is in performance compared to the baseline. Now that allows you to do that assessment you were looking for of realizing your ROI right away of the value of the tools. Now, most importantly, you can now customize your query workloads, no matter what source type is available to you. So you can prune down those important queries and then combine them to focus your tuning efforts on the highest priority of work. You can also define a filter for the source to limit the number of statements to choose from, control the order of statements. For example, when the source type is a package, you might want to filter out by schema or package name, by authorization idea of the binder, or the order of the package, or other criteria. For example, I know that I've got a specific project that I'm working on. You can even source by any available columns in ascending and descending order. As you can see on the screen on the left, I've listed the program name as a DBA specified as DSN TEP4 as the name of the package in which the statements are to be bound. By specifying the value, it causes all the SQL statements except for those from that program to be filtered out. And then I would simply create the query workload and press the button. This accelerates your analysis, reduces the downtime, and gives you a focused effort. Now, most importantly about these workloads, you can share them with team members. You don't necessarily have to use them on your own. As long as they have access to the database and the tool, they can access the workloads, so you could share and work cohesively as a team. What's even more important that you can do with these workloads is I can even export the data into an Excel spreadsheet and share that data with people if I wanted to continuously look at it, so I can keep a tracking mechanism of these reporting capabilities I've actually done as well. Let's go into now executing my advisors. Once I've defined my workload, you can then run one or more of the advisors. So our statistics advisor gives you recommendations on best statistics to capture to influence the access plan selection. It gives you information on outdated statistics, conflicting statistics, and missing statistics. What conflicting means is that it could have been taken at 2 different time intervals. You do a reorg, it updates your index information but doesn't update your table information, and that could cause you conflicts. You can execute your query advisor, which gives you recommendations on how to rewrite your query for better efficiency. We have our index advisor, which gives you recommendations on additional indexes to reduce database scans, and also gives you advice on which indexes you can drop for better efficiency. So a lot of us have a whole bunch of indexes that are not being used. This will tell you which indexes you can actually remove. And our fourth and most fun advisor that I find is our Analytics Accelerator Advisor. This gives you recommendations on optimizing and managing accelerated queries for your applications. I typically suggest running these advisors in order. Running first your Statistics Collection Advisor, and then running the Analytics Accelerator Advisor, and then your Query Advisor and your Index Advisor. So once I've determined what queries can be accelerated, all the other ineligible queries I can start tuning for better efficiency so I can get more performance benefits. Accurate and complete statistics will help you drive good advice, of course. So the Analytics Accelerator should not be executed without good statistics. The Query Tuner will then return a summary that shows you what advice is returned and how critical that advice is. Next, you want to drill down into the advisory recommendations. As you can see, I've opened up the Analytics Accelerator section to review the recommendations. You can also see the estimated performance savings in CPU savings directly on your screen, so you know how much you're going to save by offloading these queries. The estimated total cost savings from the query acceleration is calculated by determining how many seconds it would have been saved by offloading all eligible statements to an accelerator. The cumulative CPU savings from query offloading is the total amount of seconds saved when running eligible queries with the Analytics Accelerator instead of DB2. The cost is shifted to Analytics Accelerator instead of DB2, saving MIPS cost, which is what you care about most. Now let's look at the boxed columns that I've done in red. First, on Accelerator. That means that it specifies whether a table is already on the accelerator. If you want to determine what accelerators are hosting the table, you can just right-click the table and see the list of accelerators hosting that selected table. The next column that I have listed, references to the table. This indicates how many times the table has been referenced by the eligible statements. Third, cumulative elapsed cost, which is what you care about most, right? This specifies the sum of the eligible statements that's referenced in the selected table. These values help you understand the weight of the table in the workload. The larger number of columns, the more you should consider adding the tables to the accelerator. By default, the list shows all the tables that the advisor recommends to be offloaded to the Analytics Accelerator to maximize the benefit. But as you can see, you can even filter out the recommendations to see the tables that have not been recommended to be offloaded and the tables that are recommended to be removed from the accelerator. What I really like about the tool as well is I can do even more. So let's say I right-click a statement. If I right-click the statement, as you can see in the blue box, it shows the statements that's related to that table. You can actually see the list of test candidates for acceleration as well. You can add the recommended tables for the accelerator. So using the tool is very simple. It's just like the web. You can either right-click or double-click, and it'll give you more information that you can go further and deeper, and you can look at from there. What's most beneficial about the tool is that it's also teaching you while you're tuning. We don't have time to all go to conferences over and over again. But what we do inside the tool is we give you recommendations and we give you rationale behind those recommendations so you can fully understand the logic behind our recommendations and learn the best practices of DB2 ZOS and the accelerator to get the most benefit and bang for your buck. So, the first box on the top shows the eligible statements section listed of all the statements in the workload and the eligible to be offloaded into the Analytics Accelerator. The sum of the values in the total estimated cost equals the value of the estimated cost savings from the acceleration in seconds. The sum of the values of the stat_CPU column equals the value of the cumulative time savings from the query offloading. Now the second section shows you all the ineligible statements. This lists the statements that cannot be offloaded in the acceleration. The reason for acceleration shows you the rationale behind those, so you can learn from the process and see why they cannot be eligible for execution. The next and final column that you have in the third tab is the rewritable statements. And this is what I like the most, right? We have queries that are eligible, but what more can I do? Can I make things that are already out there eligible for execution? We'll tell you how to rewrite your queries for better execution. So first it lists the statements. Then it gives you the reason and specifies why they're not listed. The DBA can then rewrite those statements and run the query workload again and make them eligible and push them in for offloading. So see how great the parts is? So first you have eligible statements, you have ineligible statements, and now, most robust, you have the rewritable statements that you can go from. Step 4, Test Candidate Acceleration. So you want to see what the Workload Analytics Accelerator recommends by adding the large number of tables to the accelerator. However, some of the tables are not referenced as often as other tables, and the cumulative CPU cost for assessing them is much smaller and relative to the CPU costs associated with those tables that are referenced more often. You wonder whether the estimated CPU savings will decrease significantly if those less important tables are not added to the accelerator. So now you can test your hypothesis. So look on the far left-hand side. You can actually see I've actually check some of the tables and not check some of the tables that I've included. So once I've done that, I can then click Test Candidate Analytics Acceleration in the Workload Test Candidate Acceleration Editor, and it opens up a list of tables. And then you can actually see what it can do and deselect the less important tables and click the button, and the result test appears in the review section. And just as before, you can run that test or the what-if analysis to see the estimated cost savings are close enough to the estimated original savings to exclude or include those tables. So it allows you to imagine if I added these tables, what would be the implication of adding these tables and the CPU savings I would see from that. Validation. How could I validate these result sets? Or once I've done this, how do I see the results on the what-if analysis? So once I did that what-if analysis, it provides me a view of the analysis summary, as you can see. When it gives me the summary, it shows me the less CPU savings, so I can compare the before and after CPU savings, and I can see that fewer eligible statements are out there. It's an easy consumable report. You can either look at it inside the Eclipse interface, or I can create a reporting functionality to look at it and see what the statements that are eligible. So on an easily consumable screen, I've done the what-if analysis. Now I've validated the acceleration, and I can choose the table that needs to be accelerated. Today, more and more customers have a mixed environment of their query workloads, consisting of a traditional OLTP and more complex and aggregated queries associated with business analytics. Customer systems run on multiple applications, mixed OLTP, BI applications, for example, on SAP, right? And you want to analyze individual applications for the best savings. So imagine a DBA wants to help an SQL developer improve an application that is not mission critical and that the mixture of OLTP and BI queries. The DBA wants to offload as much CPU usage as possible to the accelerator. So first, he can capture the workload from a catalog, plan, or package, set the preferences option to allow query offloading into DB2. Then the DBA can run the Workload Analytics Accelerator Advisor, as done in the previous slides that I showed you, and then shown it can create that workload in the previous procedure and load the query workload to invoke all the workflow assistant, and then it can get all the advisors there and get the advisor acceleration and determine what query acceleration option is eligible for query acceleration. So it's very simple in a hybrid solution, just as it is in a regular solution. So you can go through the process and now look at a mixed environment and get the full secure benefits and see what's eligible for execution there in SAP environment as well. So let me give you one more example, because we want to continue to build in the Analytics Accelerator environment. So in the scenario that I have here, you have just offloaded some tables in a TPC schema from DB2 into the Analytics Accelerator. The DBA then captures a small number of queries into the query workload and runs the Analytics Accelerator Advisor. And you find only one query is eligible to be offloaded, and the rest of the queries are ineligible. Because of the one eligible query references only 4 tables, the Workload Analytics Accelerator Advisor recommends that the tables are removed from the accelerator which it is located on. So as you can see here, in the example above, you can see I can easily remove those accelerator options, and if I right-click on those tables, I can then easily press the Remove button, and remove those tables clearly from the accelerator. Now what I want you to remember, and something to note, is this tool will not exceed the authority level you already have. So don't have a fear that somebody's going to go into the tool and remove tables that they don't have access to or authority levels to. So now you can see where you would get the cost savings from removing these tables, as you can see. It's actually listed there. And see the cost savings, remove the tables easily, and now get more bang for your buck from that point forward. Now in summary, this is why we've built the Query Workload Tuner. It's a packaging of expert tuning advice that you can easily consume. It allows you to optimize performance, which is important to the business, drive MIPS savings. It reduces the specialized skills that you have as a requirement. It allows you to see and bridge the gap and understand the recommendations and build skill and rationale. You're not always in firefighting mode now. You can actually be proactive and reactive at the same time. So not only tuning a single statement, you can do a bulk of statements at the exact same time. This will allow you to improve query performance, increase your overall system capacity. Not only do you improve your query and your application performance, it allows you to free up resources for additional workloads. Similarly, you can reduce chargebacks for your queries to make them more efficient. This solution simplifies and speeds up the analysis for not only DBAs, but developers and designers, and improves your overall feedback now to the line of business. So now that you've improved the application performance, you've improved the query acceleration, you can now reduce costs and reduce time to respond to new problems. It also reduces the impact of sluggish response time and gets DBAs and performance teams to work together and work on value of creation faster and more efficiently. Now, in the further slides from this point forward, you can actually see in the further slides more resources available to you. If you would actually like to see a demo of the Analytics Accelerator Advisor in action, you'll see on the resources slide I've included a link to the demo video. But most importantly, thank you for joining me today.